this video we'll continue to work with string. It's going to be easier than last time, believe me, and we'll just work with methods from the strings. So what are methods? It's kind of functions for classes. Don't think about that too much right now, just say function or method for nice, the same for you. And we'll just create a text. So the text I'll write is I'm glad you came back and continue to learn Python. So this is a text. Now, what kind of methods, what kind of function can we use on this text? There are many functions. We'll solve the index, etc. Now let's look at this. I just write text, then a dot, and then I press tab. And all these appear. So that's all the option I have where, well, that I can use. So we could look at them one by one. I don't think it makes a lot of sense. We'll just use a few of them so that you can see what they do, and the more that the one that are used the most, and a few others that are not there. But then I'll just guide you to the documentation, and if you want to look at everything, well, you can. I would not recommend that though. I would just tell you, hey, just look what there is. When you'll need them, then you can go back to them. Let's look at text capitalize, and we'll print it. So text capitalize, like that. I run this, and it says we got a building method capitalize. Why? That's because I didn't put parentheses at the end. Basically, I'm printing the function. So don't worry, it's just something that I wanted to show you, because it will happen to you. Sometimes you'll just try something, you'll be, what is that strange line? That's not what I wanted. So sometimes you just need to do that, and now it works. So capitalize did nothing. So why? Let's look at this. I put an I here, and then you should see the difference. Technically, capitalize, what it's doing is just putting the first letters of the text as a capital letter. And that's it. So you can say, well, wow, you just capitalized one letter. I'm glad for you. That's really good. Well, actually, when you'll be coding and you might work with a lot of text, and you'll just have those, text that you want to manipulate, having something that just capitalize everything for you, just the first letter for every string you will receive, can be useful. So let's look at what else do we have here. I just go back here and I press tab again. And let's look at one. Let's look at to lower. Is lower, what it will do, let's look at this one. Is lower, what it will do is say if some letters or all the letters are not in capital letters, if they are all small letters. So if I just kill the P of Python here and put it without a capital letter, now it says true. So it's tell me yes or no for true or false for this question of is everything lower, or do you have some capital letters here? If you have a capital letter in the string, then it will say false, because not everything is lower, like small. And if you have one, then it will say false, right? So if you got one, it's a true. If you don't, it's a false. So if you have a capital letters, it will say false, because it's not everything lower. The question is everything lower, if you want to say it like that. Now, if you don't have any kind of capital letter in all the string, then it will say true, like here. Now let's look at some of the functions. What we just seen, when there is, it's always like that. It's going to be true or false, and true or false, and you will use that with the condition, the if, that we'll see a bit later on, soon enough, but not yet. And then all this will be useful for you. Now let's look at upper. So upper, what is it? So upper, you'll see it right away. You see the difference? So upper is just putting everything in capital letter. So just look at that. It starts to be interesting. Like if you have a text and for some reason you want to move everything to capital letter, well, good luck doing it manually, right? But now here with Python, you need just a few lines. Not even a few lines, actually, just one function, one line if you want to print it. So you could receive a huge text, and it would just put everything as like that, as like a full capital letter. So now you could do exactly the opposite, and let's save that upper as big text. I'll save it. Whoop. And I'll show it to you. So now we got it in a variable, right? But now we got variable, let's use them. And big text. So what can I do with big text? Well, if you have everything like that in capital letter, many people don't like it, right? It's like you're shouting, and you don't want to be, have people feeling that you're shouting. So you want to put everything to a lowercase. And to put everything to a lowercase, what will you do? Well, you will use lower. So I can use big text and I'll put lower. What happens if I do just this? You have this line, remember, right? You need to put the brackets, the parentheses. So I put the parentheses. I can show you actually, if you put brackets, it won't be what you want either, right? Say, hey, why do you put brackets here? So parentheses. And now everything is small. But then you would be like, yeah, everything is small, but the first letter is small too. And well, I wish I could capitalize it somehow. So I just write capitalize, I put the parentheses. And what am I doing here? Well, I'm applying one more methods on top of the method that I used before, which technically this is the result that we're seeing here, right? So big text is all capital letters. Big text dot lower parentheses is all not capital letters, all small letter, all smaller case being lowered. And then on top of that, I'll execute capitalize. And when I do that, the text went back to what we had initially, well, before I changed it. And it looks great. So now you see, okay, why it was actually interesting to do this. Now, you remember when we were speaking and playing, maybe you still hate me for that, but it was useful with index on the previous video. So this is actually useful because look at this function. This function is actually useful. What you want to do is this length, like length, text, and it gives you a number. So this number is the actual amount of characters that you have in the string. So what happens if you do text and I promise we will not play more than this with index today. I put this. What do you think will happen when I do that? I got an issue. Why? Because we start counting the index with 0. So the latest index is always length minus 1. So it would be 52, and it was the exclamation mark. So what I could do, because I know it's always like this, because the index is always like this, well, if I didn't have the minus 1 to just get to the last letter, I could also do something like this. I could say, okay, length of text minus 1. And here we start to combine a lot of things we've seen before. The minus 1, one of the first lectures. The length, that's what we just did. The index, it's what we've seen in the previous lecture, and we just combine all of that. So basically we're saying, okay, text, we're taking this variable, which is a string. Then we put brackets. So what we'll have inside the bracket is relative for a string. It's related to the index. And what do we have inside? Well, we got length of text. We know it's going to be a number. It's the size of the text in character. We've seen it before. It's 53. And then I reduce, I subtracted 1 because I know the index is always starting with 0. So I don't want the overall length. I just want to know, okay, what is the last index? And it's going to be the overall length minus 1. And I run all this and give me the last character. So obviously it's awesome. We could just do that with the index saying, hey, give me the last index. But this is actually useful in many cases where you are maybe not know the size of the text you're working with, and you might want to reduce the size because you can work only with a specific amount in a field for a web page, or in in a data frame for data science. So we'll look at that later on, but what I want to show you is look all that you learn already and how you can do. So let's play with a few more. We could do find. So let's use find. So text find, and I'll say A. So what does that mean? Find A, and the answer is 2. Awesome. So let's delete a few lines so you can see the actual text. We're working with text. So let's go back to text. Remember double D. And why is it saying 2? So what do you think would be? Maybe it would be an index. It would tell me where is the index of the first A. And look, that's exactly what is happening. Index 0 was I, index 1 was a space, index 2 is A. So this is useful because this starts to allow you to do stuff with the index we've seen before. And I won't dive too much in this, but just saying, okay, I want to delete maybe all the A. Well, we're almost there, right? We just need to see how to delete something. So what else can we do with find? Well, we can go somewhere in the text and we could say, okay, I know in this text there might be glad. So let's go to glad and find glad for me and give me 5. Why 5? Because that's the index of the first letter of glad. If I had say exactly the same with am, it would tell me 2 because, well, it's the same as A. It's the first am in the text is start here. If I did last example with 2, well, the 2 is here. So it would be, the T will be at index 37. Good, so now you know how to find the index of a word, find the index of a character. Let's look at how you could replace something in this string. It's like the Control H in Windows with Excel and Word, etc. And let's look at this. So it's called replace, and I do text dot, and here I put replace. I just put an R and replace is the first, enter, and here I need to say what I want to replace. So let's say I want to replace Python with a small p by Python with a capital letter. And what happened? Well, it says, hey, I'm glad you came back and continue to learn Python. So I kind of fixed the P of Python here. So this is almost perfect, but what I would like is to replace also the I here. So what would I do? I will first capitalize the text. So let's capitalize the text, capitalize like before, and then I'll say, okay, first capitalize and then replace Python by Python with a capital letter. So I've been using capitalize and then I've been changing the P. I could do something like this and say, hey, I'm glad you came back and continue to learn Java. But we would not do that because we are learning Python. But basically the idea is you can change it for whatever you want. So now you can start to manipulate text a lot. You can put it in capital letter, you can replace word, you can find index, and then you'll be able to play even more with indexes, etc. That's a first approach to the method we have in Python, and I'll show you this. So this is the Python string methods, and everything is there. Everything is there. Everything you can use that is Python for string, the methods of the string, they are there. There is no more, there's no less. You'll see the split. Split can be useful too. We might see it later on when we'll work a little bit more with data frame, but basically it's a way to cut the text. I can open it for you. There is example like this. So you say, hey, text, welcome to the jungle. And then you got text.split and you can try it. So you click on trying it and you see that it's been, so it might be a bit small, but it's been cutting the string for every space because by default split is using the space, and this is there, right? So you can read all this. It's a here by default any white space is a separator, but you could change it. Just read the description, you'll see everything that can be done with that. If you want, just write in the comment if you want me to explain it. and create another video on top of this one to explain more. Look at all the lists, see if there are some that you want to have more details on, and we can have another video on that. But overall, everything is there. You don't need to know them all. You don't need to remember everything. You just need to know they exist, and when you will need them, then you'll say, oh, if I need to lower everything, if I need to upper everything, if I need to capitalize, I don't need to create the code myself. I just use the method that I've seen before. But I forgot what was the word, so I just go back to this video. I just go back to the documentation. So we're good for today. In the next lecture, we'll be looking at comments. And comments are one of the most important things you have in programming and in Python. It doesn't look this way, but it really, really is. The quality of the comments is one of the very important things that makes the quality of the coder. A good coder creates awesome comments. Most of the code can be read just with the comments. If you don't comment, your code can be unique. You will not be a good coder, and people will hate you if they have to read your code. So that's it for today. We'll go to the next lecture with comments, and well, until then, keep coding. Take care. Wait. There's one more thing I want to show you. I just forgot, so I'm creating this right now. Don't forget to see this. I will create a new text, and it's gonna say hello, or hello like this. My name is Python. So there's one thing that is super useful that you need to know and we'll use later on, is how to check if a word is inside the string. So obviously you could do find, and if you have an index, then it means that you find that word. But you'll have to use condition, and you'll have to say, if I can find this word, then I should say yes, it's there. You don't need to do that. You can do something super easy. The easiest thing that is maybe in Python, and it's like that. You'll say, okay, Python, the word you want to check could be hello. Let's do name. It's in the middle. In text. That's a question. I'm saying, hey, is name in text? Like, is it somewhere in text? I run that and it says true, because it is. If I had said names with an S, then it says false, because I don't have names here, except if I put an S here, then I do have it. So this is super important. This can be used a lot, and that's so easy. So I really didn't want to leave you without showing this. If you want to check if something is in the string, the only thing you need to do is check with in. Whatever string, whatever word, can be more than one word. I could say names is, I'll remove this S because it doesn't make sense. I need to rerun this so it removes the S, and then I say names is, and it's true, right? It doesn't have to be just one word. You can check chunk of text sentences inside a big text, and you'll know if it's there or not. So it's useful to find a name, it's useful to find something you want to classify later on, and I really wanted you to see that. So now we're good. See you in the next video.